Nobody legitimately thought Master P was going to be drawing up contracts or whatever for players. Master P's whole job, just like Jay-Z, is the face of the organization. He's trying to bring guys in because of his fame, because of his brand. That's it. And if anybody thinks Magic Johnson's going to do that, then you're crazy. That's not his purpose. That's not his role. Thorny Switch. She says, Chucktown it is. From RC, I've been listening to Le Batard's radio show for years, and he's been critical of guys like Phil, Dan Marino, John Lynch, and many others. Well, listen, I said at the very beginning, I don't really have anything that I could say that I'm, not a fan of Dan Le Batard for. I really don't watch him a lot. Like every once in a while, I'll see his show on TV. I'll flip by it if I'm at home or whatever. Once again, it's him, our boy Bomani Jones, and Le Batard's dad, which I don't understand that whole aspect, but I don't know. They've been around for a while, so I guess people like it. But I don't have anything against him. I just think this particular case here, and I don't think that, necessarily he's a racist. That's Keyshawn Johnson's opinion. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. I would say that the way that I think Keyshawn meant that maybe he wasn't a racist, but those comments may have had racial undertones, is the term that they use. From some people may say that that's, those comments have some racial undertones. I get that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this particular example here, where he's going at Magic Johnson for getting a job, when in relative terms, this happens 99% of the time in other facets of life and business across this country's history, in relative terms compared to white people and black people, I think is bullshit. From Harvey Scott in the chat room on Spreaker.com, based on Le Batard's logic, his daddy isn't qualified to be on TV. Exactly. It's a very good point. It's a very good point. From Duncan and Jojen, yes, there was criticism about the Phil Jackson hire. From Sid, save the Penguins Jackson. You still got jokes, huh, bruh? You still got jokes, huh? As a matter of fact, let me click on this. You listen to the Doug Stewart. You listen to the Doug Stewart show. Once again, if you look at and click on Sid the day he changed his name to Sid Save the Penguins Jackson, as his profile pic, he has a fried freaking goose. But what he's insinuating, shut up. I can tell it's a goose by the long neck. What he's insinuating is that's a picture, like a secret photo from a hidden camera in a Popeyes restaurant. And that's the actual chicken that they use. Okay? And I didn't realize penguins had that long necks. So I don't believe it's a penguin. I think it's a goose. And that is not in a Popeyes. I'm telling you, bruh, this is slander at its highest form. Stop it. That's why your ass might get some bald penis today. From Angry Black Man, bruh, it wasn't Magic's fault Paul Westhead got fired in 1983, nor that the Pistons swept them, nor that MJ beat them in 5 games, or that man gave him HIV, or that his talk sucked, nor that his comments with broken English. Back to the one little comment. You said a bunch of this stuff in your statement, Angry Black Man. But I was talking to my boy the other day, and when I say the other day, this was yesterday. When did the Magic News come out? No, the day before yesterday. So today is Friday. This was Wednesday. I was talking to one of my boys, and we had this long conversation about Magic taking over the Lakers. This is big. This is going to change, the fortunes of the organization. I'm glad they did this. I was tired of Kupchak, this, that. He was of that mindset of, he didn't like Phil Kupchak or Mitch Kupchak. I'm not that guy. I think Mitch Kupchak, based on what he's done in his record, has done a fantastic job. But at the end of the conversation, he's man, don't you remember that Magic Johnson has AIDS? And I stopped. I was like, we really forget about that. We really forget that Magic Johnson's supposed to have been gone from here. If you go back to the time when he announced this and he was retiring from basketball and he was seeking treatment, to the time when he came back, he played in the All-Star game. He came back as a Laker for a couple of games, and then, some of the players were uncomfortable with him on the floor, in particular Karl Malone. You remember all that? Then he came back and he coached the Lakers. Would you really, tell the truth, the way that AIDS and HIV was perceived at that time, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that in 2017 we would be talking about Magic Johnson being the president of basketball operations for the Lakers? That Magic Johnson was still walking and breathing on this earth? Huh? Praise his holy name. Praise his holy name. From J-Rob, Magic has HIV, not AIDS. I understand that. And if I alluded to them being the same thing, I apologize. I don't want to offend anybody. But typically, when someone has AIDS, or HIV, when someone has HIV back during the time when Magic got it, it pretty much was a wrap. You didn't think that they would survive 25 years later. That's the point I'm trying to make. And it's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's an incredible thing based on our thoughts and opinions about the disease back 25 years ago, that Magic Johnson, not only is he still walking around, but he's starting to, he's starting all of these businesses. He's now the head man for the Los Angeles Lakers. He looks like he gets, 3-4 good square meals. Right. Magic Johnson is alive and kicking 25 years later. Praise his holy name. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable story. Like, every time I see him in the news, and I forget. And once again, my boy had to remind me, he's like, damn, bro, did you realize that Magic Johnson's still alive? Like, wait a minute, where did that come from? And I thought about it, I was like, you're right. Magic Johnson is still alive, not just alive, but alive and doing well. From Run, Ohio's finest CNC, when Magic got diagnosed with HIV, I thought he would be dead in a year. That money he had took care of that virus. And that's a very accurate point. That goes to the point I was making. Like, at that time, whether it was right or wrong, whether we were naive, whether we were ignorant or whatever, or whether that was the way it really was, based on the medical community, we thought Magic Johnson would be around for a couple of months, a year, maybe a couple of years, maybe 2 years, maximum. I think if you polled people back in whenever the year was that Magic announced this, that I don't think nobody would have said he would have survived past 2 years. And it's damn near 25 years later, man. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, man. Ducking and dodging. And not only that, we've seen pretty much that be the course for a lot of people. We hear about someone getting HIV or contracting HIV, and then they are dead within a couple of years or so. What happened with Eazy-E? I mean, so that was the norm. And to see Magic Johnson, once again, around, alive and kicking, healthy, he ain't missed damn meal. Somebody said in the chat room, Magic Johnson healthier than 95% of the people in this damn chat room. He is. I mean, it's incredible, man. Praise his holy name. From Jared, War Damn Eagle, I don't know, Sid. I'll look it up. From Uncle Mike, Magic was part of that African Shimron conspiracy. I'm not familiar with that, sir. From Chucktown Frank Jared, Lakers are currently in talks with Shaq now. Laugh out loud. From Sin, you thought you was Kobe. Shaq has ownership in the Kings, Gerald. Yeah, he does. That's a bad move. I wonder if Shaq had anything to do with that whole Boogie Cousins deal. From Sid, here we go. Sid saved the Penguins Jackson. Jared does. Shaq still have a piece of ownership in Sacramento. As far as I know, he does. Let's see. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. From Ducking and Dodging, conspiracy theorists would tell you Magic never had HIV. That's another episode of the Conspiracy Theory Show on the Stewart Media and Entertainment Network. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. I mentioned it yesterday how a good idea for a show would be a conspiracy show. And it all surrounded this whole flat earth conversation that Kyrie Irving started up a couple of days ago at the All-Star game. But yeah, that's another conspiracy. That's another conspiracy, man. Magic Johnson's still around. And you always hear people say he never had AIDS or he never had HIV. I'm sorry. He never had HIV. And if he had it, he's got the money to buy, the medicine to take care of it, to completely wipe it out. I think there was a story that came out a couple of years ago that Magic said not only does he not have, or he's still alive and kicking, but there are no traces of HIV in his blood. Like, he's cured. He doesn't have HIV. He doesn't have the AIDS virus anymore. If that's the case, man, that's incredible. From Robert One Dope Boy Slade, no cure exists for AIDS, but strict adherence to anti-retroviral regimens, ARVs, can dramatically slow the disease progress as well as prevent secondary infections and complications. To the degree of 25 years, though? Like, I always knew that you could take medicine, and once again, I'm not a doctor. We just sports guys, and we happen to be talking about Magic Johnson where it applies to HIV. But I always thought that, yes, if you had money and you had the ability to buy medicines and all this expensive medical knowledge to put behind your campaign to live, that it would work, it would sustain you, it would keep you alive longer, but eventually you would die. Okay? And I'm not sure if that's the case still with Magic possibly, and eventually HIV and AIDS is going to kill him at some point 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I don't know. But we've always heard that, but I was under the impression, once again, and maybe ignorance, I'm admitting to that. I always thought that, yes, medicines would keep you alive longer, but eventually it would be a RAP. Yeah. So very interesting stuff, man, from Coach Noy Bramble. What up, Coach Noy Bramble? Magic only bathes in Costa Rican spring water. Are you being funny? From Rough Buff XY, Magic went to see Dr. CB, who developed a cure for AIDS. I have seen, speaking of conspiracies and kind of stuff off the beaten path, the Dr. CB gentleman who passed away actually a couple of months ago. There's conspiracy theories out there that he was killed. So he's kind of like this herbalist, for people that don't know. Dr. CB, and you can look it up, his name was spelled S-I-B-I, was this old black dude that didn't have any education, no medical background, but he was in effect what they would call in the low country like, a glorified roots doctor. And so he used all these herbs and, natural chemicals or whatever to cure and heal a lot of his patients from some, inflictions that were terminal to a large degree, cancer, AIDS, and all of that type of stuff, man. Very interesting stuff. Check it out. I gave y'all some viewing homework yesterday for the whole flat earth thing. Check out Dr. CB, man. Very interesting guy as well. 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedugstewartshow.com. When we get back from the break, just like that, it's hour number 2. We're going to get into some NBA draft talk. Well, not draft talk. I'm sorry, trade talk. Nothing really happened yesterday, but we'll kind of highlight and touch upon everything that did, even though it wasn't a lot. We'll do that when we get back from the break. Once again, jump into the chat room on Spreaker.com. Yeah. Jump into the chat room on Spreaker.com. When we get back from the break, NBA trade deadline, the deals that did happen, the deals that didn't. We'll talk about that. Jump back into the chat. Do what we do. We got to get into this Jameis Winston story. We got birthdays, entertainment coming up. We got to give out Ball Peanuts Awards. We got a lot we got to do. But we will get it done. All right? Hour number 2 of the Doug Stewart Show coming up next.
But then I knew my danger desire